This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good day, everybody. Once again, it's Andrew with East Orlando Chamber of Commerce, and we're here with another webinar for you to help your business through this reopening post-COVID, but really through COVID, I guess it is a better way to say it because it's not over. So with that, but we've got a great speaker this afternoon, and I want to welcome all of you that have made it on the call today. And this will be recorded so we can reshare it so there's information out for folks. But as we do with many of our events, I want to once again recognize our trustee members, which are Avalon Health, Avalon Park Group, Avalon Insurance Services, Duke Energy, Fairwinds Credit Union, Great Florida Insurance of Hunters Creek, the Orlando Law Group, Orlando Health, Suburban Land Reserve, and all of those trustees are great stakeholders within the East Orlando Chamber and within our community. And we really appreciate all they do to bring that they bring to the table with the chamber and their support of the chamber. So I want to say thanks there, but I want to jump right into this. And as all of you know me well, I hate reading bios. So I'm going to introduce, this is, oh geez, Ralphy Perez. Why is my head leaving me this afternoon? But Ralphy Perez is with Spectrum Reach, and Spectrum, who are great members of the chamber. But they have a lot of products and services that are out there for businesses and that can help them. And he's got a presentation today, Rebuild a Stronger Tomorrow. And so without further ado, Ralphie, I'm going to step aside and give this to you and say hi and introduce yourself to everybody. So welcome.
Hello. Thank you, Andrew, for the introduction. And don't worry, I'll fill in the blanks. So, as Andrew mentioned, I'm with Spectrum Reach. Just give you a bit of backstory. We're the advertising division of Spectrum. So when you think of TV commercials or digital advertising, advertising on over 70 networks or News 13, that's where we really come in. I think a lot of you are familiar with Juan, who is from Business Solutions. Juan's a good guy. We're actually in the same building. Don't see him that often for obvious reasons, but he's always out in the field doing his thing. So to give you a bit of background of my role, I'm the field marketing manager for the Central Florida area. So my job specifically is to help build the brand of Spectrum Reach and to make sure businesses are aware of our solutions. So I do that through media placement, lead generation efforts, client retention, and multiple events. So my day-to-day stays pretty busy. We have a good team here in Florida. I am an East Orlando native. I was actually born in East Orlando, Lake Underhill Hospital. Lived on Winston College Lane, grew up in the area, went to UCF, so I know the area very, very a little too well. My parents still live over there, so it's been great for the past couple of years to see the area just grow so much as not just being an area to raise families, but for businesses too. Because what we've seen is just, and I think we can all attest to this, just by the traffic, by the businesses coming in, it is just continuously growing. So that's great to see in this chamber. I've been part of this chamber for about 4 or 5 years now, and they just continue to grow and do great things. So I just want to start off by saying I think each of us on this call can agree that these past 12 weeks has felt like our world has changed on a dime. Things have changed so drastically, and I think whether you're a big business, a small business, or just a consumer, we've had to drastically change our approach and how we do things. And the way we serve our communities is different now. But one thing that hasn't changed is we still have a need to connect with our community and help them out and serve them and continue to deliver our services. So my goal for today's presentation is just to give you some great marketing tips. Some of you may have already been applying these tips, but just take some nuggets away that you can apply to your business every day and make sure you continue to adapt. Whether it's COVID, a hurricane, or something else, we get business disruptions, and it's our job as business owners and as leaders to adapt to those changes. So let's continue to rebuild, let's continue to adapt to changes, and let's continue to thrive. So this is going to be some recurring themes in this presentation. One of them is food. I'm a foodie, so there's a lot of food examples. The second one is communication. We're going to talk about communication a lot because whether we're in a pandemic or not, communication with your customers is key, and we really stress this. So make sure right now that you're really framing your message according to your customer needs, geography, and sensitivity. So the way someone in Central Florida might advertise, or in East Orlando, might be vastly different than they do in Melbourne. So keep that in mind that things are changing on the dime, and you as a business owner really need to stay on top of those trends and geography as well. So For instance, I'm in the Winter Park area a lot. The way Park Avenue is adapting to these changes is very different the way Waterford Lakes is adapting. So you have to stay on top of these things and effectively communicate that with your clients. And don't forget, be very sensitive to this time. We have to recognize that, graciously we are moving into phase two, but people as individuals may not be ready to be in phase two. So although your restaurant may be ready to operate at 50% capacity, your customers may not be ready to even head into the restaurant yet. So always keep that in mind. And when you create your message, make sure you just have sensitivity in mind. And make sure you're updating all these messages on your website and tell customers how they can support you. What we've seen a lot of businesses that had to force a shutdown is they've encouraged their customers to buy business cards. They've offered senior hours for the elderly, and they've even offered curbside pickup and contact NIS delivery. This is really important to stress to your consumers and make sure you're getting this message out there. And as we mentioned, a website's a great way to do this, but don't forget about social media. What I love about social media, especially a time like this, and we'll share some data later, the amount of consumption people are doing on their devices has increased tremendously. And social media is a great way to talk to people on the dime. So let's say you are changing your restaurant hours, or guess what, you're doing curbside pickup, or you've gotten that new machine that you can do the tap for your credit card. Share that with your customers. These are things they want to hear. And let them know continuously what you're doing for public safety. I think we can all equally agree that every big company, it got to a point where every big company was stressing, hey, we're here for you. And it got to the point where we're like, okay, we get it. You're here for us. Now what people want to hear is, all right, you're a business. You're here for us. Now, what are you doing to keep us safe? And as we mentioned, we got the great news that we're going to phase two this Friday, but talk about what you're doing in your stores to keep people safe. And also, we've seen some of these unemployment numbers. If you're hiring for people and you're noticing your demand is increasing, share that. And of course, share your employee safety measures. GM actually, about 2 weeks ago, when they decided to open up their factories, they released to the public their employee protocol for COVID-19. And it's about 20 pages, and me geeking out, I read through it, and I thought it was very informative. And me as a consumer who drives a car every day and I have friends who drive GM vehicles, I thought that was really insightful for them to release that, because it shows like, wow, they created a whole booklet and a whole protocol about this. So just think about that when you talk to your IANs. And lastly, while you're out talking to your consumers, don't forget this is a time where we're helping supporting each other. Research shows that 70% of Americans like to see their businesses do more than just take money. They want to see them do some social good. So if you're doing something like creating hand sanitizer from scratch, creating face masks for hospital workers from reusable bags, share that and be proud of that. That's something really cool, and people like to see that their local businesses are supporting the community. I think we've seen time and time again, community comes together. And if you're doing these great things, be proud of that, because people like to see that. Be flexible and creative. So right now, this is a great time to experiment with creative and be flexible with your messaging. As we mentioned at the beginning of the call, this all threw a wrench at us. None of us saw this coming, and right now is a great time to really get creative and figure out what we can do as a business owner to talk to your customers and also make them feel safe. So, for instance, I was at a store about a week ago, and we all know the 6-foot rule by now. And I thought what was really cool was one store in particular had paw prints instead of the usual duct tape to show their customers, hey, be 6 feet apart. And I've seen a lot of other companies where they incorporate their branding in their stickers. Think of fun ways to create your branding and messaging within the store, but also continue to push your message about reduced hours and your cleanliness. Always stress the importance of consumer safety. Your customers need to know what you're doing, because if they don't know what you're doing, they may not decide to come to your store because you're not stressing those safety measures. And just be flexible with your approach. In the past, we've seen stores that only take cash. They've now switched to credit card purchases, or if they've adopted new technology to do that, be flexible in these offerings. And if you don't have it already, really consider mobile ordering. And it doesn't have to be a full complicated software suite. I've seen businesses do mobile ordering through their Instagram or through their Facebook messaging. These are just great tips and tricks to really adapt to those times. So one thing to keep in mind with collecting data and contacts, this isn't something that is really expensive or you have to hire a third-party company. Sometimes when people need to collect contacts or people's information for leads, they think this is a big ordeal that you have to hire a company to do that. But you as a business owner, you can collect a lot of this data on your own. And it's very simple. So things to keep in mind. Let's say you're a business owner and you want to find a way to communicate with your customers. One thing you could do is at the point of checkout is collect their email and phone number. Just create a spreadsheet of all your customers. That way, whenever you have to send out an email or do some type of communication, you're able to do that. Also, don't be afraid to send out surveys. The best way to get customer feedback is from the customer themselves. And there's great softwares like MailChimp, Coastal Contact, or SurveyMonkey to do this. I know the East Orlando Chamber, they actually use Constant Contact. Sorry, I said Coastal Contacts, like the contact lens. And I personally have used MailChimp for other organizations. It's very, very easy. And then I'm a marketer, not a designer. I can't design to save my life, but these are templates you pop in, create your messaging, and you're good to go. And now you have a beautifully templated email. And these softwares for free usually tell you who's opened your email, what parts of the email they're engaged with, how many people unsubscribe. So this is all really good stuff that you have access to. And while you're looking at ways to communicate via email, don't forget about your social media platform. Direct messages are very effective, and look at those online and social media reviews. I think we all as business owners can agree we live and breathe reviews, so constantly check those out and make sure you're reviewing those and connect with your customers that have had a positive experience and a negative experience. I'll share this next tip of something I saw a few days ago. So I'm a marathon runner, and there's actually this recovery place I go to. They do like Normatec boots, cryotherapy, and on their social media platform, they're actually very curious to see what store hours they should shift to because they were, per regulations, they're allowed to open again, and they need to modify their hours. What they did was a social media poll to see what their customers did, what their customers wanted to switch the hours. And I thought that was very effective, and it didn't take much effort to simply do a poll on Facebook and Instagram. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to get answers for questions of how to adapt your business, ask your customers themselves, but it doesn't have to be a very complicated process with calling people up or anything of that nature. You can simply do a poll on social media if you're trying to get a quick answer. And lastly, don't be afraid of negative feedback. I know we all, we wish everything was perfect, but unfortunately the world doesn't work that way. So if you see a comment or two on your social media pages or on your Google, your Google reviews, reach out to that customer and make sure you get their feedback. You see someone didn't have a good experience, hey, send them a message, say, hey, I'm sorry you had this experience. Let's connect. That way you show consumers that you're addressing the issue and you find out what's wrong, because if it is a legitimate issue, you would want to know about it as a business owner. All right. So this next part, I really want to show you all some great examples of what local businesses are doing and what they've done to adapt during COVID-19. So right now, what I want to show you is TV commercials. And TV commercials are extremely effective because one, it's video, it's a visual, and two, you're catching people when they're engaged. And what I love about video is you have control of the story. You're telling people what you want to say, and you have control of your messaging. So the first one I'm going to show you to your left. Is it left or right? It's left on my screen. If it's right, I'm sorry. It's the Princess Maria. So Princess Maria is a retirement home based here in St. Petersburg. And as we know, the elderly is a high-risk population during COVID-19. And what I really like about this commercial is they took control of their message to make their customers feel safe and the people around them. So I'm going to hit play on this really quick. Now,
Hey,
Andrew,
Ralphie,
yeah,
we didn't get any sound on that one, and I don't know if it's because you're hooked in with a Bluetooth or a mic that is coming through your sound.
Okay, I was just going to ask if you're able to hear that.
We weren't able to hear any of the sound, so I just wanted to let you know on that one. But might want to see, because we found that when there's a device plugged in for sound for yourself, it doesn't always play through the system.
Oh, okay. The sound is coming out of my laptop, but no worries. We can skip over the videos. It's no big deal.
You can always
It is
try them,
what.
but you can kind of see how simple it can be easily done.
Yeah, it is what it is. So I'll just quickly explain the next video. So Partners in Health, they're a healthcare organization. They do, typical physician checkups. In their commercial, what they would do, and I'll actually just play the commercial in the background while I explain. Because the way physicians have changed their business, they were able to do telehealth and virtual visits. So they just rechanged their message to show what they were doing and how they adapted, which I thought was really good because doctor visits still need to go on and you can't really stop that business. But how are you addressing that to the consumers and how are you telling them that you're changing your business to adapt to the needs right now? So I thought that was pretty cool. So this next example, this is where the foodie comes in. I'm pretty sure some of y'all have heard of Kelly's Ice Cream. It's actually my favorite ice cream shop. I have 2 pints in my freezer. No shame. Kelly's Ice Cream is a local ice cream shop here in Orlando, and they have 3 locations. And what I love about their social media channel is they really use social media to communicate with their consumers and talk about what they're doing during COVID-19. They really use the platform to show what they're doing now and how they're adapting to the times. So the first thing I want you all to notice is, first of all, they have a very great page. It's updated, it has everything that you need, it has the address, phone number, and website. And if for y'all who don't know this, make sure your website's important, but also your social media channels are just as important as your website. These are all your digital business cards. So if they're not that updated, it could leave maybe not the best first impression to your consumers. But as you can see, they have a very well done social media page and they're constantly engaged. What I like what they did is while we were during our stay at home orders, they were considered an essential worker because they served food. They actually posted their menu daily on their Instagram story. So that way they would tell consumers, hey, this is our menu for today, which I thought was very considerate because you think about it, if you go outside with your face mask and you know go out and do something different, you want to make sure that your time isn't wasted or possible exposure isn't was worth it. So making sure they post their menu daily was really effective. So every day they post their menu, and on their Facebook page they updated what hours they had. Because of the stay-at-home orders and because of curfews, their hours consistently shifted, but they used their platform to stress that message. So, if you wanted to drive and get your chocolate ice cream, you wanted to make sure it was in stock, not make a 15, 20-minute drive and realize it wasn't there. So it's pretty effective. So next, I want to show you all some examples of local businesses in Orlando that adapted to e-commerce because of COVID-19. So the first one that you'll see is The Heavy. The Heavy is actually a local plant shop here in Winter Park. Our office is in the Winter Park Maitland area. And what they've done is they actually open up an e-commerce store. Now, I think all of us on the phone can agree is if you don't have a website right now as a business owner, it's that's that's not the best thing because that is your digital business card. You may look incredible as a business. Most people do right now is Google a business when they learn or hear about it. So what the Heavy did is they actually opened up their first e-commerce store. As I mentioned, they're a plant store. It's a very in-person experience. You go there, pick out your plants, pick out your pottery, and take it home. Because of the stay-at-home orders, they actually were forced to shut down their business, and they couldn't generate any revenue. Now, through their social media platform, they realized people still wanted to buy plants, and people were asking, "Hey, is there any way I can buy these? Buy my ficuses, or buy my ZZ plants, or buy my snake plants?" So what they did is they actually opened up an e-commerce store, and if you were to go on their e-commerce store today, they're actually sold out of a lot of things, and they adapt that by doing curbside pickup. So you go online, pick out what plants you want, pick out the pot, and then from there you go to the store and do curbside pickup, and they bring it to your car. So that was a great way of adapting very quickly right now when something that's a little bit out of the norm for them now became normal. The next one I want to show you all is Track Shack Orlando. So I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with Track Shack. It's a local running store here. They host a lot of the 5K, 10K, and half marathons. So they've been in business for about 40 years, and they've actually never done e-commerce. They've never done online shopping, anything of that nature. The only thing you can really do online was register for races or the training programs. And when COVID-19 happened, they were forced to shut down as well. And for the past 40 years, they've they really pride themselves on going into the store, trying on a shoe, run up and down the aisle, and see what best fits for you, which is a phenomenal experience. But when you can't do that anymore, you have to adapt. So for the first time in 40 years, they launched online sales, and they did a 10% off for your first online purchase. So I thought that was a great way to adapt to times. They recognized, if people can't come in to try on our shoes, we will come to them and we'll ship the shoes to their house. And now they can ship shoes anywhere in the nation, so they've actually expanded their footprint. So next, we really want to show you some stats and some data about why keeping your messaging is so important. One thing you want to keep in mind is, as a business, is don't turn your back on advertising. Some businesses have the mindset of, hey, things are downturning, we should probably cut our advertising. That's actually not the smartest thing to do. We've seen through our data that companies that advertised during a recession actually saw a higher net income than those who eliminated or decreased their messaging. This makes sure that you have a strong presence in the community, you're reaching your customers, whether that be through a discount or cost-saving messages, and you're gaining new ones. And one thing we really want to stress is every business has a competitor, and when you take yourself off the air or off online, off print, or whichever method you use, you're allowing your competitors to move into place. And you want to make sure that you have the main voice of reason. But vice versa, if your competitors stop their advertising, this is a time for you to come in as well. So what we're seeing with our data is TV commercials, digital placement has gone through the roof. The way people are consuming media right now has gone up significantly, because you have to think, if you're at home longer, you're watching more TV, you're on your devices longer, and you're streaming way more television. Just some data that we pulled, we've seen from 2019 March to 2020 March that just on phone devices themselves, there's been a 33% increase. And on connected TV, we saw about 27% increase. So just year over year, we saw that much growth during this time with TV digital consumption. And already Americans consume 12 hours of media per day. And 12 hours does sound like a lot, but when you add up the time you're on your phone, watching your shows, on your laptop, it does add up to 12 hours pretty quick. Multi-screen is definitely the new normal. This was a trend before COVID-19, this is a trend during, and this is a trend afterwards. People are watching on multiple devices. This is just a new normal of how things are. The days of your family of 5 or 6 watching television all at 8 o'clock at night in front of your TV, it's just not the way it is anymore. I can't tell you how many times I watch a TV show from my iPad, from my phone, to my television at home. It's just the way things are. It's very common for you to sit at home with your niece, daughter, kids, and see that you're watching your show while they're watching something else on the iPad. So when you consider advertising, make sure your advertising is a multi-screen solution that is touching people on multiple touch points. They're watching television, they're on their phone, going through websites, they're on different channels. Make sure you target your audiences in different ways. So that being said, us at Spectrum Reach, we're here to help you in any way possible. Please let us know if you have any questions about advertising. We do quite a few things that can help your business. We're actually offering free video right now. So if you just need some social media content or something to engage your audience in good enticing video, let us know. We'll be happy to connect you with that. But at that point, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all would have.
So if you'd like, you can unmute your phone. You can or screen if you have some questions there. I know, Ralphy, you guys have done a lot of interesting things and had some great tools that you brought us. And you want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that people can use? Because I think what gets intimidating is people get intimidated by TV, but yet you can do some very unique things with just an iPhone, with the tools and apps that you have on an iPhone. And now some of these cameras are just as great quality as that you can get with a real big, bulky piece. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think some of the tools you're referring to are like Ad Portal and Audience Track, and just taking away the misconception that you need a full camera crew to record a TV commercial. So we were with East Orlando last year when we launched Ad Portal, which is a new product where you can buy TV from the convenience of your home on a really easy use platform. But in general, media buying isn't as complicated as people think. I think the important thing to do is just ask questions and really engage either whether it's our account executive or someone else, just to ask the right questions. When it comes to free video, we actually partner with Waymark to give anyone a free 30-second video, and you really don't need a full camera crew. If you have great iPhone imagery, iPhone videos, you can record a TV commercial. We've seen so many, it's not even funny that we find out we're recorded from an iPhone. So it's really not that difficult. It's just asking the right questions and be open-minded to hearing what we have to say or what other media platforms have to offer. Now,
I hit a wrong button, so I know somebody was asking a question. Was that Peter? Was that you? I didn't mean to cut you off there.
I was going to. Yes, I'm Peter Cowley from Coffee Cravings. We have automated barista coffee machines we set up in businesses, etc. Making mochaccino, cappuccino, all that. What I would like to ask is, what does Spectrum Reach TV commercial cover? What area? We are quite localized around Lake Nona. And number two, what is the price of a 30-second commercial to be aired? Sorry, I can't hear anything.
Wait a minute, Ralphie, I may have unmuted you.
okay,
You.
I just heard the very nice, polite voice that said unmuted. So, no, two really good questions, Peter. So, the good thing about Spectrum Reach with cable television is that you can actually get very targeted with zones. The good thing about us is, let's say your business is only located in Lake Nona, we can put your advertising in a specific zone where you only target within a certain radius of your business. So your advertising wouldn't really come up in the Daytona area or down by Lake County. We can actually put you in, for example, the East Orlando zone where your advertising would show up in that area. Now, in terms of pricing, that varies by time of day, who you're trying to target, your audience. I do have Liz, who is one of our account executives, on the call, and if you're open to it, we'll be happy to connect with her afterwards, just to answer some of those questions. Because I just don't want to throw out a price for you, and it could be a little bit different. I don't want to over or underestimate you.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, I don't know if any of the platforms have changed, but you did have ways that you can even target who you're wanting to market to, if I'm not mistaken. You can kind of narrow it down to your demographic, to your client base and everything else from that. You have some very robust ways to connect with that on there. And Liz, if you want to post your email address or contact information in the chat box, you can do so everybody can find that. And so am I wrong on saying that? I think you guys have some you can really target your market.
No, you hit the nail on the head. So if you're only trying to target businesses or women or Hispanics or a specific audience, we have over 14 different research points that we can do that. So really, we just like to have a conversation with you first to see who really your target audience is. And then from there, we'll pick the right channels and the right platforms to reach that audience. Because the last thing we want to do is just throw out some random networks that maybe may not make sense. So you just want to make sure who you're trying to specific target to make sure it's the most effective, as effective as possible.
And I think you have the opportunity. You can even get it down to specific different channels, like if it's on the History Channel or ESPN. You can actually have, this sounds crazy and it blows my mind, but to have these local advertisements and commercials being broadcast on these national platforms, but only being seen by the people here. But those are the demographics that you might be looking for, depending on what your target market is. So that's pretty cool and robust that you can narrow those down.
Yeah, absolutely. The way a Real Housewives viewer watches television is way different than a CNN, or depending on the audience, they might watch both. So yeah, it's great that you're able to put your local advertising with some of these high-profile networks.
And don't you have it across different platforms too that you can use it? It's not just Spectrum News 13. It's not just your platform. You have other avenues that you have partners with?
Yeah. So the good thing about us is, let's say you want to advertise on Spectrum Reach. We actually do have partnerships with Dish Network, Comcast, and AT&T. So we are the main cable advertising provider for all those networks as well. But let's say you're trying to get that multi-screen solution. You can do pre-roll, which is those 15-second videos before a video online, display and banner advertising, and those are different ways you can do that. And I don't want to get too much into the advertising jargon, but we can do a lot of addressable targeting. Basically, what that means is we can get really like crazy targeting on your audience to find out who we're trying to reach.
And I know that, you have different packages and things, but it really can be very affordable for what you have, depending on your reach and the length of time of what you're doing. That we were in a presentation back, I think, beginning of the year, I think it was, Ralphie, and everybody that came to that meeting, I think their jaws were on their chins, where you could actually do TV marketing, and it's less expensive than what probably you were thinking you had to do. And like I said, you could do it right with your iPhone, and that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing we really like to stress to our potential customers is listen to our conversations and just learn about TV advertising. It's a really, we all know TV advertising works and it's a great way to target your audience, but you'd be surprised how targeted we can get and how affordable it is. And whenever, especially right now with everything going on with the pandemic, you really want to make sure your advertising is effective, and this is a great way to do it, especially when you combine it with streaming advertising or digital advertising and/or.
Very much so. And you guys have all that capability, which is great.
Yep, absolutely.
What do you think are the biggest challenges that you're hearing from clients, or what are you hearing from potential clients that are their biggest concerns when their issue, besides a price point? But what are you hearing? Because from a potential client, what fears can you dispel from people that might be interested in doing this?
Yeah, and I'll let Liz, one of our account executives, jump in if she has any feedback as well on the call. But I think the biggest thing is just people have hesitation. It's if they've never done any type of advertising before, just that initial, shake off the fears and, will this be effective? But really, if we're targeting the right audience and we're really engaging with who we're trying to reach, it's a very effective platform. So from my perspective, I would say, to your point, besides the first misconception of price, is also just that initial fears, like, oh, this is new, I've never done this before. But I mean, it's like anything in life. You try something new, there's a bit of that hesitation.
I did, Liz, are you there to be able to chime in on anything? I did make sure that you were unmuted if you want to share some words of wisdom.
Yes, I do agree with Ralphie. I think a lot of it does have to do with like the unknown, because there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So I think, piggybacking off of what Ralphie said, it's very true. There is a lot of uncertainty of what's going on. A lot of people have never done TV and so are just really unsure. The one thing that I have found is the research that we have and the data capabilities that we have basically put that down to ease, because we can get so finite targeting that it's a no-brainer. If I can target your specific audience and eliminate as much waste as possible, then this becomes an easier decision.
And the customer service side that you guys have, you really can work with everybody on any type of budget and scale of what they're looking to do, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The joke I like to say with people is, whether you have a small Etsy shop and you make little at-home prints, up to a multi-billion-dollar business, we have the capabilities to target all the way up. And it's probably one of the most rewarding things to see with our customers, is just growing with them, because we've had customers that buy, a small little advertising package, and now they just keep growing and growing and growing. And I know Liz has a pretty extensive list of those type of clients who probably come in and got a few digital services, and now they're on multiple networks, on streaming platforms, and they're just rocking and rolling.
And you can feel free, if you haven't, you can chime in on chat. If you're muted and can't unmute, let me know. Put it in chat, and I'll be glad to unmute you if you're having any issues there. So I know that, I think we touched on it, but you have everything from, you can get down into regions, you can get down to demographics, you can get down to specific shows or clientele. The data that you have on all the different platforms that can help walk somebody through this, so like they can help find the right target for them on things, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So we
Yeah,
combine it. We do a lot of combining of our first party data with our third party data. So by first party data, that's our cable boxes, and then we overlay it with our third party research companies to help build that whole story.
nice. What would you say is probably the most popular platform right now that you're seeing? What's the trend are you seeing? You talk about, people are from on multi
Yeah.
devices. What are you seeing? Where's the trend going? Can you share any of that?
Ooh, yeah, Liz. I would say a lot of people a lot of people are streaming their shows. That's like a big thing right now. We're just seeing that
Yeah.
a lot of streaming, like we're strongly advising a lot of our clients to bundle their solutions with our streaming advertising, just for the simple fact that, I mean, I just think of myself. I watch TV on my Roku device, and then I go to my room and watch it on my iPad. Or when I used to travel, I used to watch a lot of TV on my iPad. So we're seeing a lot of streaming because people are going on their HDTV apps and their AMC apps to watch their shows. And we hand off the iPad to your kids, they're doing the exact same thing. So we're seeing a lot of that. That's been a big trend for us. That consuming on streaming, and with the Spectrum TV app, you essentially get a cable box on an easy to use app as well. So that's been a very big trend for us. Would you agree, Liz?
I do agree. I think I've seen a lot more since this whole COVID situation happened of people asking about streaming services and how to advertise on there. The one thing to keep in mind is that we are Spectrum, so we have that walled garden. Nobody can advertise on our on demand. So that is something that we have ability to advertise on. If somebody wants to stream something on demand, that would be your TV commercials on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just to add to the discussion here, having been basically at home for the last 3 months, and it harkened me back to, back when I was in high school or earlier, being at home for summer break, even though, we are in summer break now. But, back to those days, and I'm a Gen Xer, much older than you, Ralphie, I'm sure. But, during that time, the TV was on from 8 a.m. until 11 o'clock at night or later. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But having, 2 teenage kids here, the TV is never on. And again, me being at home now for 2-3 months, I'm able to see that. The kids are at home too. The TV is absolutely never on. And, if it does turn on, it's mostly because of me. And I might be, casting from my iPhone, something from YouTube or, some other things. But it's I'm basically the only one, and my wife are the only ones that watch TV in our generation. The kids, some of it's probably, they don't want mom and dad to see what they're watching. They want their privacy that way, but it's just a whole different way how the generations are consuming. And, to your point of, just different ways that the messaging will get across to different people. So similarly, though, and more of a general marketing question from a business engagement perspective, what platforms, social media wise, and again, I haven't checked the statistics in the last year or two of for small businesses, if they do want to communicate with their clients, you kind of alluded to that in terms of what their cleaning protocol, their hours and things. Is it still just basically Facebook and Instagram, or is I know a little about TikTok, but not enough to know if that's even.
Yeah, TikTok is interesting. TikTok is very popular with like Gen Z and below, but the two most popular right now are Facebook and Instagram. I want to say Instagram is number one, and just for the simple fact, it's a very visual platform. So you can post on your stories and you can visualize what you're doing with your business. So Instagram has definitely taken the place as number one. From a lot of the reading I've done, I've seen that Instagram has been very millennial, like Gen X, and then Facebook has actually gone older, so like 36 plus. So I think that was an interesting shift in the past couple of years. But Instagram definitely takes number one and is probably the most popular platform just because it gives you a very strong visual. But it also depends who your target audience is too, because if you're trying to target a more older demographic, Facebook actually might be your better bet, but at the same time, you want to make sure you still deliver those visuals on Instagram. And the way you talk to each audience is very different. On Instagram, it's like I said, it's about great pictures, great content, showing what you're visually doing. On Facebook per se, you can get with a bit more wordy with your post and do more explaining. You would never do the same on Instagram. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Twitter.
does, I'm sorry, Ralphie, does LinkedIn not loop into this, or is it not an avenue? Or
Yeah,
I mean,
no, absolutely. No,
yes.
LinkedIn is definitely a big B2B platform, and thank you for including that. We use LinkedIn a lot, like Spectrum Reach, and so does Spectrum Networks. LinkedIn is it's a platform that I think some businesses miss out on, and it's a great way to connect with other business owners. I can't tell you how many times sometimes people won't reply to a text message or email, but they'll reply to a LinkedIn message. So I think, especially as a business owner, it's a great platform to connect with other people and to show professionally what you're doing. Now, the way you talk to someone on Facebook and Instagram is vastly different than the way you talk to someone on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very professional, what your business is doing, what are you promoting, but Instagram and Facebook is a bit more fun. You can get more tongue-in-cheek with it. LinkedIn, you would not do that. LinkedIn should stick strictly professional. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Do you have platforms that do your platforms allow you to do any of the advertising on the social media sites and pieces with that?
Not yet, but we are a company that's adopting and ever changing. So I always say not yet because you never know what comes down the pipeline. But what we do have Kernel, our in-house agency, our in-house creative agency, and what they do is they actually help create a visual content and even copy for your social media platforms. And they'll even create for you a social media calendar if you need it. So if you are looking for ways just how to post or great content, they can help you with that as well. And being a video company, what we've seen a lot of companies do is they'll take their TV commercial, will re-edit that commercial to make it more social media friendly and keep their messaging consistent across all the platforms.
Any other comments or questions for Ralphie or for Liz while we've got them? We've got some great experts here and can definitely help you with any of those. I think I've answered everything on my list here that I was kind of feeding in.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I do want to mention is definitely take advantage of Facebook Live and Instagram Live. I think those are great tools right now, just with events being canceled. As a business owner, virtual events are a really good thing, and if you do it right, you get a really engaged audience. I've seen some very cool virtual events the past couple months.
Yeah, very true. Well, I'm not seeing anybody chat in. Is there anybody else that has something? What do we have?
I just have to go back to TikTok. Seriously, do businesses use TikTok as a means of advertising? I mean, is it just for the sheer fun of it, or?
No, it is becoming a popular platform, especially for, if you're trying to target a 11 to 17-year-old, that's your target audience right there. TikTok is the way to go. I'm just baffled of how popular TikTok has come the past year. It was something that I think we all laughed at as a joke, but now you see major companies creating a TikTok page and getting engaged. It's definitely a more fun platform, but if you're trying to target that 11 to 17-year-old, it's the platform to use. I mean, if you don't have good dance moves, I don't know if you want to use it, but that's your audience. You definitely want to get on there. And I curiously go through it sometimes, and I'm just shocked at how many followers some of these major celebrities and businesses have, millions and millions of followers, and it's catching on very quickly.
Yeah, a lot of that might have, I'm just guessing here, I'm not an expert, but a lot of that was, I know in terms of the age of people or of kids getting their first mobile device.
Yeah.
Obviously that's probably, just fallen down by the wayside. I know I wanted to hold out for my 13-year-old son not to get a digital device until he was driving, but that's long gone. And it's just, the fight that I think every parent is probably given into, and you're just trying to manage it. So I think that probably you said 11 to 17, that's a demographic. It's like, that's like kind of what I mentioned. That's a demographic unto itself. I'm not seeing necessarily what he's watching back in the day when I was between 11 and 17, because it was on the TV screen and everyone in the house was watching it. So it's definitely an interesting time.
Yeah, it's funny when you go to Walmart or something, you see just people dancing in the corner, and it turns out they're recording a TikTok at the store.
You think about that is, as parents, who are our biggest influencers? It's our kids. What is it that they want? So I can see where companies are getting in on that to be able to get a message out there to the younger crowd to then go to mom and dad, hey, I want this, or I saw this, or I need this, or you know how that all goes. If you're a parent, you've been in those shoes. You've seen the Tony the Tiger commercials on TV and want the Fruit Loops, or the cool things. I can see how that would definitely be a marketing ploy for those companies, especially with that demographic coming through. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that are out there, and our world keeps changing. And
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're a company and you hire an influencer, so when you hire an influencer, you review their portfolio to see what they have, how many Instagram followers they have, how many Facebook likes, and if TikTok's in that portfolio and they have 2 million followers on TikTok, and let's say you're Adidas and you're promoting shoes, you would want them to do a fun, engaging video on TikTok with the Adidas shoe. It's just another thing added to an influencer's portfolio when they promote a product or service. So it just makes me think what's next in terms of social media, but we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely.
Now, are there any other upcoming social media platforms that you're seeing that are kind of hiding in the wings that we're just not aware of?
Off the top of my head, not that I know of. I will say, though, what's changing is what social media is adding. Like, for example, LinkedIn you can now do LinkedIn Live and do events via LinkedIn, which I thought was pretty cool because LinkedIn is for business professionals and for thought leaders. And now you can host a live event on LinkedIn, something that, let's say, someone like Hootsuite, a social media software company, they would do on Facebook or Instagram. Now they can do on the platform that's meant to be on. So I think just the way social media platforms are adapting is what's shifting. Because, I mean, just a year ago, Facebook or Snapchat was the only one you can post stories. Now Snapchat has almost gone to the wayside because you can post stories on Facebook and Instagram now. So I think it's just, I don't want to say more platforms are coming out. It's just the ones we have right now are adapting to the times very quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if 6 months from now, Instagram comes out with a feature of how to record a fun video of music in the background. At this point, it's like,
hey, Ralphie,
yeah.
There is this new social media platform, and I haven't really looked too much into it. It's kind of like a LinkedIn, but I want to say it's only for women, like empowering for women to keep their career type of thing. It's from the author of the book, Girl Boss. She has like her own clothing company also. I'm drawing a blank on her first name, but her last name is Amoruso. And I don't remember the name of the platform, but it's fairly new. I haven't really looked too much into it, but it's kind of like a professional LinkedIn but for women.
Oh, nice. That's very cool. I'll have to look into that. I'm going to write that down and look into that.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I can go on there, but I still want to.
I don't know if it's really for women, but I want to say it is, but we could take a look at it on the side, on a little side note.
Yeah. No, that's cool stuff. I love learning about new things like that. Very cool.
Well, do we have any other questions from the gallery here? If not, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. It's coming up to the end of our hour, and really appreciate somebody's just texted one in. If there's anything else that we need to share. Ralphie, how do people get in touch with you and Liz? I know Liz posted her email in here. If people have questions or want to have more information, how can we contact you or get in touch with you on that?
Yeah, so you can contact me via email. I'll post in the chat as well at ralphy.perez@char.com, and I'll also post my phone number. And depending on what you're looking for, I'll be happy to help you or connect you with the right people within the organization. But thank you so much for y'all's time. If you have any more questions or any additional insight, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be happy to help.
We appreciate it. And you can find Ralphie's information is on the website directory. So if you don't see it on the chat when it comes through, or you can call us at the chamber office and we can get you plugged in. And Liz, pleasure to meet you, and thank you for chiming in there. And Ralphie has always some great information. It's always exciting, especially when there's opportunities for businesses, and sharing what platforms are out there, and knowing that there's other options than what you think there are. And like I said, it was eye-opening when you guys were rolling out some of this earlier, that we got a chance to be some of the first to see what was coming down the pike. So this is very exciting. And any other parting shots, questions, or comments you guys want to make from Spectrum? And if not, we'll let everybody go.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful rest of
Thank
your
you for
day. We
having
do
us.
appreciate, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Thanks.
Right.